Let me tell you another incident that shows you how it is not people. I know there's difficulty in the workplace, no matter where you go. I understand that, but I'm the kind of person that it's not that if I don't get my way, then it's the highway. It's not that. It's just that I I I look at the bigger picture, okay, and I see um, things like, for example, maybe I see something that has been existing at a certain state for many years, and it hasn't grown, but it should have grown. Why hasn't it grown? If I can influence that to change for the better, I will do it. Okay, back in 2000, when was that? 2003. I was asked to teach Lakota language on the university level for the tribe. The tribal university has a Lakota language teacher, and he had been working with them for 11 years. Okay, by the time I came on there, he was there for 11 years. Now this guy is my cousin. We are the same age. We are the same age. He is my cousin, and once we left high school, I didn't really have too much contact with this guy. So about, let's see, maybe over 10 years gone by. Geez, pretty close to 20 years. Over 20 years had gone by. And people really change. You know, we always think we're the same person, yeah? We don't realize that we're changing until we meet somebody from our past and we visit and they say, geez, you changed. And we don't realize it, but we can see it in others, yeah? And others can see it in us. So I hadn't really talked to this guy for 20 years, over 20 years. And he also teaches high school at Igabute, yeah, the Lakota language in the high school there. And so there was always, just a Lakota language level 1, Lakota language level 2 at the community college. I shouldn't say university, it's a community college. And that time it was called Cheyenne River Community College. And later it turned into Sicangu University. When I still lived in South Dakota, it was called Sicangu University. Yeah, they were still in existence, and they had a teacher training program. They started a brand new teacher training program, and part of their requirements were to take Lakota language levels 1 and 2. And there were a lot of applicants in this new teacher training program, and there were not enough seats in the Lakota language class in Eagle Butte. So they asked me, can I teach for them and take half the load? So I said, yeah, no problem. I would love to. So half of their students, their Lakota language students, came to me, their Lakota language students in Dupree. So they had to drive from Eagle Butte to Dupree. And but some of them were from Dupree, so it was right there, yeah. So I taught them just like I taught my own students. Yeah, that my high school students, that we got talking right away. And when the level 2 started, I got new students from Eagle Butte. They came from this other guy's class, my cousin's class. Yeah, they came from his class. He had too many. They couldn't fit in his classroom, so they had to come to me, which is no problem. And his level 2 students were light years behind my students. His level 2 students, all they could say was they could introduce themselves, yeah, say their name, David Lidlock Emachapi. That's all they could say is their name. And Oh, let's see. How did they say this again? They started out saying their names. So David Lidlock, Imachapi, Le Ampetu Washte, Na Chante Washte Na Yuzapi. That's the only thing they learn how to say. And what that means is my name. They say my name. You say your name, yeah? Then you say, it's a really good, today is a good day, and I shake your hand from my heart. That's the only thing they learn to say after 16 weeks of instruction. 3 hours a week. So 48 hours of Lakota language instruction, and all they could do was introduce themselves. That's it. Why? Why is that? Why was that in that way? Why could they not talk Indian when mine were talking Indian? My students were all, after 16 weeks, they were already going strong. They were talking with each other. But the students that came from Eagle Butte, from my cousin, they couldn't even talk. They knew colors, they knew numbers, they could say some animals, some clothes items, some food items. But if my students went up to them and said, "Lila tawa chong cha dagni job he," if they said that, his students would be like, "What?" This is really simple Lakota, what I just said. It's really nice to see you. What's your name? That was the question. His students couldn't even answer that. They didn't even understand what my students were saying. Why is that? We should be at the same level. So I really got questioning, I was questioning, why is this guy teaching Lakota for 11 years, and yet his students, all they can do is introduce themselves. Nothing more. They can't even say, today is a good day. They can't even say that. They can't even say how old they are. They can't even say, I'm going to town. They can't even say things like that. They can't even say, Letakuhe, what is this? Or Hetakuhe, what is that? They can't even say simple things like that. If one of my students says to them, he holds up a book and says, his students, they don't even know what the hell he's talking about. The question was, what color is this book? Why is it that his students could not talk Indian after 48 hours of Lakota instruction? 3 hours a week for 16 weeks. There is something incredibly wrong with that. And he taught for this college for 11 years. So I started to question that. And then I thought, why in 11 years, why is there only one? Why is there just Lakota 1 and Lakota 2? See, in most Lakota programs in South Dakota and North Dakota, in the tribal colleges, you have Lakota 1, levels 1 through 4. Okay? Lakota levels 1 through 4. That's 4 courses. Then you have 2 semesters of Lakota conversation. Then you have, I think, 2 semesters of Lakota thought and philosophy. Why, in 11 years, why does Cheyenne River only have Lakota 1 and 2? After 11 years, how come just 2 courses? What's wrong with this guy? So I went and sat in on one of his classes. I couldn't believe the bullshit I was hearing. They didn't talk Indian at all. No exercises. They didn't do any dialoguing. They didn't talk about how to put sentences together. They didn't talk anything about that. The man does not know how to teach, but yet he's working for that school for 11 years. It's a waste of money. No quality whatsoever in what this guy is doing. So I got my argument together and I went before the administration and I said I want to leave level 1 and 2 to this guy. I said he's been doing that for 11 years, so I want to leave that to him. But I want to do Lakota levels 3 and 4. I want to develop 2 new courses. And then a year later, I'd like to develop Lakota Conversation 1, Lakota Conversation 2. And the administration agreed with it. Holy shit, my cousin was pissed off. He was really pissed off. Now, there's 2 people on the board of directors that he gets drunk with. He likes to say he's sober, but he isn't. I mean, I know this guy gets drunk. He's one of those kind of alcoholics that says that, I just had a half a cup, that doesn't count. See, that kind of alcoholic. He still drinks. I know he does. And there's 2 guys on the board of directors that he gets drunk with. So he went to those guys and tried to get me fired. Do you see what I mean? Do you see the petty jealousy that happens in these kind of things? I'm trying to develop a Lakota language program for our tribal college so that we will be on the same level as Pine Ridge and Rosebud and Standing Rock, but this fucker wants to only have 1 and 2 and continue to use a Rosebud textbook. And his drinking buddies were on the board of directors. They met and they voted to fire me. Do you see what I mean? I tried to get our college to develop a really high quality Lakota studies program, and it got shot down by the administrators who get drunk with this guy. I could not believe it. You can't do anything good on that reservation. When you try, there are going to be people who will shoot you down. They will find a way to stop you. When you take 2 semesters, that's 96 hours, okay? For 32 weeks, 3 hours a week, totaling 96 hours, 2 courses, and all the students know how to say is their name, how to say their name, and how to introduce themselves. That's all they know how to do. And this fucker, with his fucking drinking buddies, they don't want to have a bigger program. They don't want to have a better Lakota language program because these guys get drunk with each other. And they saw me as a threat. So they got me fired. You see what I mean? I really tried. I really tried. First of all, I went talking to him, my cousin. That's the first thing I did. I met him in private and I said, "Man, let's develop Lakota 3 and 4." He looked away and he's like, "Nah, I don't know. I don't know about that," he said. That's all he said. I don't know about that. And I think my feeling was that he was threatened that I'm trying to steal the show. How am I stealing the show when I come to him and I say, let's you and I together build a Lakota language studies program? I invited him. Let's do this together. He didn't want to do it. He wants to be the only one. He wants to. Can somebody say narcissism here? You see what I mean? So I went over his head because he wasn't going to listen to me. So I met with certain people, some administrators at work at the college, and I told them my plan. This is what I like to do. But the Lakota administrators, they get drunk together, and when their drinking buddy said David's rocking the boat, yeah, then they didn't like it that I'm trying to change things, and they shot me down, got me fired. So how can I do anything good for the people when the administrations of these institutions shoot me down? They didn't like it that I'm rising. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just happening that way because of my book. So I decided, you know what? I don't need this political bullshit. I'm going to do everything on my own and be happy. So that's what I did. That's why my online school exists. Yeah, so I am doing everything on my own today. I have my own online school, and now I'm teaching students all over the world. And I have fluent speakers. I have several of them now. Because we talk to each other every day in Lakota. We don't just sit around saying lists of words and lists of clothes and lists of animals, and we learn grammar. This is the problem. Most Lakota teachers don't know grammar. They don't know how to explain why sentences are assembled a certain way. That's why they don't have any speakers. That's why after 40 years of teaching Lakota language on a reservation, they have not produced one fluent speaker because they don't teach the grammar. A lot of these Lakota teachers, they say, oh, that's the white man's way of teaching. No, it's not. Every language has grammar. And when you're learning a second language, you're going to learn the grammar. I think all Lakota language instructors should be required to learn another language. Not an Indian language either, but a European language. I think they should all be required to take Spanish. That's the easiest one, so people say. Really. Then maybe they'll be better teachers. That's my thoughts on that. So that's another reason why I'm not on a reservation. Is because you try to do something good. I tried my hardest to develop a high-quality Lakota language program for Cheyenne River Community College, Sicangu University. For 11 years, this Cheyenne River Community College has had the same program over and over and over, just Lakota language level 1 and Lakota 2. That's ample time for Lakota 3 and 4 to develop, because that's standard on all tribal colleges, that there are 4 levels of language courses. And I think that's the way it is in all languages. Like if you take Spanish, there's going to be 4 levels. German, 4 levels. I said I am totally willing to develop levels 3 and 4. And I do have someone helping me. This is a German lady by the name of Marion. Her name used to be Marion Bluearm. She was married to a Lakota guy from Cheyenne River. She's a really good lady. Yeah? She's from Berlin. I really like Marion. I got along with her really good. And I think she's living someplace else in South Dakota now. But anyway, she was on my side. We were doing this together. And Marion has a master's degree. She's really educated. I think she's a doctorate by now. She's a highly educated woman. So I had her behind me on this, and she spoke too. Yeah, on that. She would oversee this, and so there would be somebody with a high degree, education degree to oversee this. It looked like it was going to really be a good start. So Marion and I were really happy. Yeah, that we now finally Cheyenne River is going to get a good Lakota language program. So then we started. We were get ready to start now, and then this my cousin got wind of this, and that's when he called up his drinking buddies and said, "Hey, I don't like what David's doing." Basically, it's like, "Hey, I don't like David. David's stealing my show. David's stealing my thunder. David's stealing my fire." That's the way he interpreted it. I didn't see it that way. My view was that we need to have a high quality Lakota language program for the people. I'm not trying to make a name for myself. If I was, I would be doing this alone. But I wasn't. I was doing this with Marion. And anybody else who wanted to jump on board, I welcome them. As long as we have the same goal and that we put all our effort into bringing this to fruition. So I'm not trying to make a name for myself. I'm trying to have a. My goal was to have a good quality Lakota language program so people could come and study and know they're getting a good quality education at Cheyenne River instead of the joke that was there for 11 years. That's what I was doing. I wasn't out to attack this guy. I didn't give a shit about him. I knew he didn't want to work with me because I already met with him in private, and he just said, "I don't know," and looked away. So he interpreted it as me trying to steal his attention, trying to steal the show, his thunder, his fire, and he couldn't handle that. So he called up his drinking buddies that are on the local board of directors, the Indian campus board of directors, and they had a secret meeting. I wasn't even invited to the meeting. I wasn't even invited to defend myself. They had a meeting, voted to fire me. They didn't even let me represent myself. They didn't even let me defend myself. They just met in secret and fired me. All because of what my actions were doing was getting a lot of attention, and it made it look like I'm the one that's in the spotlight. And that wasn't the focus. The focus was the program. You see what I mean? So I got shot down by my own people. My own cousin. My own cousin, who's a descendant of Sitting Bull, shot me down. I don't think Sitting Bull would have liked that. That his descendant shot down another Lakota that's trying to save the Lakota language. I think he made his own ancestor roll in his grave. This is sad. It's really sad when people are this way, and he's not living what the word Lakota means. That means allies. And he doesn't want to be an ally. Not with me, anyway. I went to him. Yeah? I went to him. And I said, let's you and I together build a good Lakota studies program for the college. He just looked away and said, I don't know. But I could tell in the tone of his voice that he didn't like it because he only wants to do things himself. He wants to be known as the hero. But yet when that was 11 years ago, he was teaching for 11 years. Why did he not have a book by this time? So this guy has now been teaching for 11 years. Why couldn't he have put together a book for Cheyenne River during those 11 years? What was he doing all this time? His students, all they can say is, like if I was one of his students, all I would be able to say is, David Lidlock, Emachapi, na Chante Washtea, na Bechiuzapi. That's all I would, after 11 years, that's all I would be able to say. Why? Why is it that they cannot say anything else? See what I mean? This is a joke. What kind of legacy is that? Meanwhile, my students are talking to each other in Lakota from different parts of the world. They're talking to each other in Lakota. One of them is doing a phrase of the day in our Facebook group, and she's teaching. With each phrase, she's telling how it goes together, the vocabulary. That's one of my students that's doing that on her own. What teacher can say that? You're a good teacher if you have a student that can do that. I hope I'm not the only one. You see what I mean? So I'm doing a hell of a lot much more for the language here in Berlin than I could on the res. Because on the res, others just shoot you down. You can't do anything. You have a good idea, they're going to go against it because they're going to be jealous that they didn't get the idea. That is not what the word Lakota means. So here's this guy in Eagle Butte, 22 years of teaching Lakota language. Didn't go forward at all. He's a descendant of Sitting Bull. And yet he shot me down. All because he perceived me as a threat to his show. He wants to be the hero. But yet after 22 years, no fluent speaker. He doesn't have any fluent speakers. There's something wrong with that guy. And if you ask your students, which is how are you, all they can probably say is even though they're not feeling good. They don't know how to say that they're not feeling good. Do you see what I mean? They don't know how to talk Indian. He's been doing that for 22 years now. And his students can't talk Indian. I know this because I know some of the students. And they tell me what's going on. After 22 years, nothing has gone forward. And he thinks he's the Lakota language god of Shan River. That is a classic case of narcissism. My gosh. Anyway, like I said, that's the reason why I'm not there anymore. Yeah, that's the reason why I'm doing my own thing, because on the reservation you just can't do anything because people are going to shoot you down. Everybody thinks that their idea is the right idea. So even when they do come together, they fight amongst each other. And somebody says, "Hey, well, I got a master's degree." So you see, they're using appeal to authority, which is a dualistic way of communicating. Appeal to authority is when you try to make yourself an authority and rise above others so others will do what that person tells them to do. So when somebody says, "Hey, I got a master's degree, so you shut up," you see, that's appeal to authority. That's a fallacy. And that's what happens within Indians. And then next thing you know, they're, "Well, hell with you then. I'll go do my own thing." And that's what I did. I said, "Hell with all of you. I'm going to do my own thing," because they just don't work together. They cannot work together. I tried really hard to work with these groups, several groups, but they just won't do it. They're too busy arguing amongst themselves. Everybody wants to steal the show. And I just thought, this is a waste of time. I'm just going to do my own thing. I don't have time to sit around and argue. So that's the reason why I'm not on a reservation. So do my people need me? I don't think so. They shot me down. A descendant of Sitting Bull shot me down because he thought I was stealing his show. This same descendant of Sitting Bull has been teaching Lakota language for over 22 years. He has not produced one fluent speaker, and all his students can say is how to introduce themselves. That's all. They cannot talk Indian after 22 years. That's why I said, I think if Sitting Bull could see what his descendant is doing, he would be ashamed that his descendants are killing the Lakota language. Yeah, and I'm not going to be a part of that. So I'm doing things the way I think they should be done, and I'm not doing this as a narcissist. I just don't want to be, arguing with pettiness, petty jealousies, and inflated egos and all that kind of nonsense. I don't want to be dealing with that because that's wasting time. So instead, I'd rather, I'd rather do things on my own, yeah, to get the job done. So to me, that's more important. And like I said, I see the fruits of my labors. My students are talking Indian. I have several fluent speakers, and they are talking to each other in Lakota. And they know how to put together sentences. It's not a problem for them. I have students all over the world. I've met some of them in person, and I would never trade those experiences for the bullshit that I experienced in Cheyenne River. No, I run my own show. I'm my own boss. Yeah, I don't have a board of directors to beg to. I don't have to play tribal politics with people I'm not related to, and with people who are scared I'm stealing their show, and I don't have to deal with this pettiness, this jealousy that these other guys had against me. No, I don't have to deal with any of that. I just flushed that down the toilet and said, okay, I'm going to do my own show. Do it my way. And it's succeeding. So, there you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.